On the 27th of March 2020, the Kaizir YouTube channel reached 100 subscribers. Yeah, it's safe to say I'm a little bit late. So for a long time, I wasn't really sure what I should make this super special video about. I originally was going to review A Town with No Name, for some reason. I don't know why.
Come back, Shane!
My name's not Shane, kid.
But then I thought I would take a look at every single one of my older videos and talk about them, giving some cool trivia and ridicule. I also wanted to re-review every game I reviewed in the past in that same video. Then I thought, hey, that would be way too long, even if I split it up into multiple videos. Now, I'm okay with making long videos, but the process of making that would have taken way too long, and I've already taken long enough to make this thing. So then I thought, hey, let's just talk about how I make videos. So, here's the process of making an episode of Kaizir. Now, that might have sounded unenthusiastic, but believe me, you don't want to hear me when I am enthusiastic because it is a nightmare. Now, without further ado! Okay, so the first step in making any episode of Kaizir is coming up with what I want to talk about. Now, I have an actual list of ideas I think would make good episodes, and I'm always thinking of ideas in my head while I'm doing other things. So when I'm ready to make a new video, I usually pick the idea I think will make a good episode relatively quickly. I also work on multiple videos at once. For example, this video was being written while I was editing The Last of Us 2 Part 1, and I'm also in the process of recording footage for the VR marathon. Another thing to note is that I don't really take requests, not that I really get any. I only really work on videos if the topic is something I care about or I'm interested in. Mainly so the video will hopefully come out good, which unfortunately isn't the case sometimes. Or most of the time, or always. So if I'm suggested a video topic for something I don't care about, I'd struggle to actually make it an interesting video. Now when I'm picking a topic for a video, usually that topic has something to do with video games. But just because I usually favor video games doesn't mean that I'm against doing videos on movies or TV shows or YouTubers, or maybe even non-media stuff. Like I have this idea for a video about different types of juicy drop candies. Yeah. Also, because I like choosing video topics that I like and care about, that also means I have a lot of useless knowledge about the subject in my head already, which will come in handy later for step 3. Let's not get ahead of ourselves though. Let's move on to step 2. Consumption. Now that might sound like a weird word to use as a step, but what it really means is consumption of media or whatever I'm talking about. Basically, this means if I'm reviewing a game, I play and record the game, or at least now I do. If I'm talking about a TV show or movie or a YouTuber or whatever, I watch it and make notes for later. Or if I'm doing a creepypasta or anything else I have to read, I read it. And if I'm doing a video on juicy drop candies, I eat all of them and get stage 3 diabetes. Now, getting footage is usually a part of this step. For a written story like a creepypasta, I usually edit together my own events of the story by saving a bunch of stock photos and making them do all the random crap that happens in the story. If I'm talking about a YouTuber or a YouTube video, I have 2 ways of getting footage. If it's just a quick mention or clip and I only need around 5 seconds of footage, then I'll probably just record one of their videos for a few seconds. If I need more than that, I'll download the video. For TV and movies, I see if I have a copy of said movie on DVD or whatever. Then I rip the video so it can be used for the review. Or I see if it's on a streaming service I'm subscribed to. The footage process for video games is a lot more complicated. Now, I record everything with this Elgato. Old, new, PC or consoles. If it's a game, I'm going to record it with this. Now, whether I record it with the original hardware or not is a case-by-case basis. Sometimes I'll go with the original game and console if I have it and can record it. So most modern games are obviously going to be recorded off of the original hardware. Older games are a bit of a different story though. I don't have a FrameMeister or an open source scan converter, so that means that not every game can be recorded off the original original hardware. For example, I can't record my Genesis because the Genesis only has coaxial, which I can't record with my Elgato. So if I don't have the original game or console, or I can't record the original game or console, I'm okay with playing a port or a remaster. If I review Resident Evil 4, I'll do it on PS4. If I review Uncharted, I'd probably use the PS4 remasters. I can also choose to review a remaster for the sake of consistency. For example, if I want to do a Doom marathon, for the sake of consistency, I would record Doom 1, 2, 64, 3, 2016, and Eternal on PS4. Ports and remasters don't really change how the game is played most of the time. It's usually just an old game on newer hardware, for the most part. I should add here that I will only record remakes if I'm reviewing the remake. If I want to record Super Mario 64 or Half-Life, I won't be using Super Mario 64 DS or Black Mesa. Some remasters fall into a sort of gray area, like the Banjo remasters on XBLA and the GameCube remasters of Sonic Adventure 1 and 2. For games that fall into a gray area like that, where I'm not particularly sure if I should record them or not, I'll probably go for the original game or a different port. Also, because this is my capture card, that means that frame rates and all that will also be a case-by-case basis. Some videos might be in 60 frames per second, but most of the time, until I upgrade, most footage will be in 30 frames per second, which is good enough for me. Another thing, if the console's backwards compatible, I will most likely play the game on newer hardware. Example, I'll play Xbox on Xbox 360, GameCube on Wii, Wii on Wii U, etc. And finally, VR games won't be recorded on my computer. My father has an Oculus Rift S and an i9 processor, so any VR games that you can pick up on Steam will be recorded on his computer with Bandicam at 1080p. Don't know about the frame rate yet because my process of VR recording right now is still in an experimental phase, as we only recently got the Oculus. Also, yes, I am aware of this tweet. I was joking. Alright, now that we have the topic we want to talk about and the media consumed and recorded, it's time for step 3, script writing. This is where the video process truly begins. Now, I'm the only one that works on my videos, so I don't really write any directions or anything for myself. I just usually write what I intend to say so I can read it back later. Then while I'm editing, I'll add the things I want to add. I actually didn't write scripts for a long time, mainly because I was lazy. I think it's also because I'm not the best at reading. I'm not sure if I'm dyslexic or if I'm just a bad reader, but I've never been the best at reading things, which is probably why some of my sentences have 1 or 2 words that don't really make sense to be in there. This is also the reason lots of my older videos were absolutely god-awful. Many people in the movie industry say that a movie is written 3 times. Once while script writing, once while shooting, then the final edit. Now, I'm not sure if that's exactly how the phrase goes, but I would say my videos are very similar. It's first written in the script writing process, then again while I'm recording the audio, and then once again in the final edit. Now, I watch a lot of trivia YouTubers, and I'm a really big fan of reading up on the most useless facts ever. So that means when I'm writing a script for a new video, I can dig into the darkest recesses of my mind to find some of that trivia and just spew it out on the script. Also, yes, I do double check if that fact I'm saying in the video is true. Okay, I think you get the gist of script writing. You write down what you want to say and then say it later. I think I've demonstrated that, so let's move on to step 4. Audio. This is by far the worst step in the video making process, mainly because it's boring. Now, I record my audio in Audacity with a blue snowball, and I use this homemade pop filter, so my audio doesn't have any pops and it sounds better. I made a pop filter mainly because I'm a cheap bastard. I might upgrade my mic sometime in the future, but this snowball does the trick fine enough. I usually record in my room. I usually record my microphone at half levels, so background noises are less likely to be picked up, and so my audio doesn't peak if I scream or raise my voice during the recording. I'm not sure if lowering the volume in the microphone is the reason why most of my videos don't get a lot of background noise aside from the accidental but it seems to do the trick. I don't record in the closet or anything like that, mainly because it makes the audio sound worse. At least in my opinion. The Portal episode was recorded entirely in the closet, so if you think the audio in that sounds better than what you're hearing right now, then let me know. After I'm done recording the audio, I usually amplify it so it's at a higher volume. I add a bit of bass and treble, and I also slightly lower the pitch of my voice so it's closer to how I actually sound in real life, and also so it sounds slightly better. If I didn't do that, this is what my voice would sound like in all of my videos. After that, we move on to what I call step 4.5, which is audio editing. Now, what I used to do was edit all my audio while I was editing the video, but then I found a much better solution, or at least one that really worked for me. After I record the audio, I edit the audio track in the audio software. This basically consists of me going through the whole audio track, which can sometimes be hours, to cut out all of the mistakes I make and stitch it together so it's usable. After I record the audio, I edit the audio track in the audio software. This basically consists of me going through the whole audio track, which can sometimes be hours, to cut out all the mistakes I make and stitch it together so it's usable. This is where the second draft of the video is done, so to speak. While I'm recording or editing the audio, I'll realize that I wrote something dumb or too hard to say or something that doesn't really make sense. So sometimes I'll go in while I'm recording the audio and rewrite the sentence. While I'm editing the audio, I'm also cutting lines that I think are unnecessary or just factually wrong. This part is the worst, mainly because it's the only thing I can be doing while I'm doing it. If I'm editing audio, I can only listen to my own audio, so I don't miss anything I want to cut. If I'm listening to music or a YouTube video, that would be distracting and I wouldn't be able to do it right. So I don't miss anything I want to cut. If I'm listening to music or a YouTube video, that would be distracting and I wouldn't be able to do it right. And because I messed up a lot and some of these scripts are pretty long, the audio editing could take hours. I tried speeding up the tempo of my voice for a whole audio track before, but when I tried slowing the tempo back down, it ruined the audio. So the best way to get through this part is to just grind through it. After I'm done editing the audio, I export it and then throw it into a program called Levelator, which basically takes the audio and makes the volume consistent throughout the whole thing, so one part's not too quiet and another part's not too loud. After the audio file is complete and done, we move on to step 5, which is editing. Now, obviously, I'm not financially capable of affording something like Sony Vegas or After Effects, so what I use is free shit. In the early days before the Kaizir channel, I made videos on Movie Maker with short clips I made in Flash or MS Paint. I don't remember how my dad got Flash, but I'm sure it was in a very legal way that didn't break the law at all. Anyway, back in 2017, I discovered something very cool while looking around for free things. A free professional editing software called HitFilm. This thing's legit. I have a genuine license to use it, which I got for free, legally. It has all the tools I need to make this video look like the stuff the big guys use, but at literally no cost. And by the way, this isn't sponsored. I just want to say that I haven't upgraded the software since I got it because in my opinion, it got way worse. Anyway, back to what I was talking about. I got this editing software and with the help of a guy named Shiny Films on YouTube, I was able to learn how to make my videos look how they are today. Now, my videos have a certain style to them, as you may be able to tell. So instead of giving you a full-on editing tutorial, I'll just go through the key things I tend to do in the edit of most of my newer videos that define my style and how I pull it off. Also, while I personally think my editing is good, for all I know, how I edit my videos could be as messy as how Yandere Dev codes his games. So keep that in mind. This is how I make videos, and this is how I like doing it. So I start off all my videos by putting in the copyright disclaimer. I made a new one for the Last of Us 2 video, and it's probably gonna stick around. Next up, I put in my audio and this green texture I like for the background. Now, depending on what I'm talking about, I'll start the episode with either footage of what I'm talking about, or more often, I'll put in those character poses. What I do when I want to have my character poses on the screen is make a composite shot, which is basically a section of your piece of media where you can add keyframes and whatnot. Then in that composite shot, I make another one. In that one, I go through the audio and put the respective poses in the places I think they would match up the best. I also have to make sure they're all lined up together so I'm not jumping all around the screen. Then when that's done, I go back to my first composite shot. This is where I add any movements to the character, including those little bouncy transitions between expressions. This is a separate composite shot because in this one, all of the character poses are now in one long video, so I can move it around without screwing up the positioning of the whole sequence. This is also where I add visual accompaniment. Like if I'm talking about a game, I'd probably move to the side and add the game next to me. This is also the place where I make those pop-up things, where I make something pop up on the screen. I like doing this bouncy effect while I do it, and the method is quite simple. You take one keyframe of it scaled down to the point of invisibility, and then a few frames later, you add a keyframe with it a little bigger than you want it to be, and then a few frames later, you make a keyframe where it's scaled down to the size you want it to be. If you pull it off right, it looks pretty cool. The same rules apply with moving objects. Another thing I like to do is smoothing out all my keyframes. In HitFilm, there's this circle here, which smooths out my keyframes. Essentially, it takes stiff movement and makes it look smooth. For example, this is what me moving into the frame without smooth keyframes looks like. And this is what me moving into the frame with smooth keyframes looks like. I also add text in some of these composite shots. The font I used to use was Boschus 93, which is the same font I use for my logo, and Cooper Black. I'm not exactly sure how to pronounce. However, I didn't really think those fonts really fit in with my video, so while experimenting, I found another one. Sandara. I don't know how to pronounce these fonts. I thought this font looked cool while also not being too stylized, so I just kind of made it my font of choice. I always use it in bold, by the way. Other fonts I used and still use sometimes were the Impact font, which just makes letters look nice and bold, and it works for emphasis, and Comic Sans because it's the dipshit font. I only use this font in a jokey context, even though Comic Sans really doesn't look all that bad. I don't know why people hate it so much. Now, after all of the things I want in the shot are put in, it's time to add the drop shadows. I've made references to this in the past, and I'm pretty sure people who watch me who are aware of editing softwares have noticed this, but I like putting drop shadows on everything. And I mean everything, mainly because I like how it looks, and it helps me separate the background from a particular image. I just think that images look a lot better like this than like this. It gives a good distinction, you know? Anyway, with all the poses in place, all of the keyframes made, and all of the drop shadows put in, that's a completed shot. And after that, I move on. The rest of the video editing is pretty standard. When I have footage on the screen of a movie or a video game, I have a certain set of rules. First, I pick the background color for the bit of footage, and then I add the footage on top of it. If it's in 16:9, it looks like this. If it's pillar boxed, it looks like this. And if it's letterboxed, it looks like this. I'm not particularly sure what else I can say about the editing process, so let's just skip to the end of the video. Now that the video is all done, it's time for the final step, which is finishing touches. Basically, all the little things I do near the end of production after the video is done exporting and while I'm uploading the video. After the hour or two the video takes to export, I begin uploading. During the uploading process, I make the thumbnail and do all the metadata stuff. I make the thumbnail in my editing software, by the way. I don't really have a certain rule set for thumbnails. I just keep working on it until I think it looks good. I guess my reviews have a certain layout with me on the left and whatever I'm reviewing on the right, but that's really it when it comes to rules. Anyway, after the thumbnail's done, that's when the metadata gets written. Stuff like the descriptions and the tags. After that, I'm ready to hit publish, and that's when the video was finally done. Yay! Okay, so I know this video wasn't too eventful, and that's really because I don't really consider myself too special in terms of video making. I don't really do anything that I think is all that unique. I just make YouTube videos in my bedroom about things I'm interested in. I guess editing on a show is kind of impressive for someone my age, but that's only until you realize there's kids younger than me making actual games, while I'm just sitting here in the corner making cringy YouTube videos. So I find it insane that I was actually able to hit 100 subscribers, let alone 200. I am incredibly thankful that there's actual people out there that are willing to watch my shitty YouTube videos. Anyway, I hope you thought this was interesting or whatever. I hope you enjoyed, and thank you so much for giving me this milestone that other people deem meaningful. Why are you still here? Oh, you're probably waiting for a funny joke to end off the video. Well, sorry. This video is far too special for that. It wouldn't fit with the tone of the rest of the video. So you're just gonna have to deal with a black screen. Okay, fine, I'll give you a funny joke. Alright, so basically, this family walks into a talent agency.